It does require putting a price on things right now so that we can set ourselves up for success in the future. And that's an easy thing for short-term politicians, short-term thinker politicians. Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn. You'll forgive me if I don't think about monetary policy.
Justin Trudeau says that he thinks about leaving his crazy job daily. Well, many Canadians also do. Yeah, that's right. In this article from the BBC saying that Justin Trudeau, he does think about this. Justin Trudeau has faced growing questions about his political future, with polls suggesting he's increasingly unpopular among Canadians. Well, he doesn't care if he's unpopular. He said that just last week.
But my job is not to be popular.
Oh.
My job, although it helps, my job is to do the right things for Canada now and do the right things for Canadians a generation from now.
Yeah, so it's, as we are a democracy, it's up to Canadians to go in which direction are we going in. He's largely unpopular. A minority government is being held up by the NDP at this point, but Canadians just don't want this. And well, I reported on this just at the end of last week. Trudeau Liberals paid the World Economic Forum to produce a report that called for a carbon tax. Wow. So they paid the World Economic Forum to make the report. Then they said, hey, look, it says here we need to do this. And then they do this, and they're doing it largely against the will of the population of the country. Now, of course, obviously, the opposition, led by Pierre is speaking out against this and saying that we should not be raising the carbon tax. We shouldn't have the carbon tax at all.
While common sense conservatives are fighting to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime, this Prime Minister is promising a cruel April Fool's Day joke, a 23% carbon tax hike on food, gas, and groceries. This at a time when the Prime Minister has forced 50 families at CFB at Gagetown, military families, to go to food banks. 2 million Canadians every month going to those same food banks. 8,000 as part of a Facebook group where they share tips on eating out of dumpsters. Will the Prime Minister gain some compassion and some common sense and spike the hike?
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives when it comes to supporting the least vulnerable in our country.
Yeah, they won't. They won't take any lessons from the Conservatives. They won't take the lessons even from their own mistakes. They just keep on piling on those mistakes. It's just it just reminds me of that old expression that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But this is the Liberal Party.
And falsehoods to distract from the fact that after 8 years of this Prime Minister, he's not worth the cost, and neither is his carbon tax, which will cost the average Ontario family this coming year $1,674. $1,674 for a middle-class family that's lined up at a food bank, not able to feed themselves or pay their heating bill. Will the Prime Minister give his head a shake, cancel his cruel April Fool's Day joke, and spike the hike?
So that's obviously the campaign promise that Pierre Poilievre is doing. We're not even looking at an election just yet. There's been rumors that there might be an election in the spring. It's not looking very likely at this point. The next scheduled election would be in 2025, but they are definitely on the campaign trail. I've been getting phone calls to my number. It is very much feeling like an election season. And in this, the support against the carbon tax is not just coming from the Conservative side. We're seeing Liberal MPs even flipping on Trudeau over this.
Trudeau is not just battling pushback from Conservative leaders. An ally, Newfoundland and Labrador's Andrew Ferreri, is the latest premier calling for the federal carbon tax hike to be delayed.
We don't think that the carbon tax is the right instrument at this time, especially given the inflationary pressures that exist for families across the province.
Now, what's really interesting about this is inflation is a monetary phenomenon, but what this carbon tax actually does is it actually increases the cost of production of anything that involves fuel. So if you have to transport anything, grow anything, do anything where you need to go somewhere with a product, yes, the tax is being added on top. So it's instead of an inflationary thing, think of it like a snowball. It's going to snowball and get bigger and bigger and bigger before it gets to, that's right, the end consumer at the end of the day. That's where any product is going. It's going towards the consumer. And this snowball effect is really driving up costs in an already inflationary environment because the monetary supply has gone up so incredibly high over the last, decades, but increasingly over the last 8 years. It's incredible. More on this carbon tax and how detrimental this is really going to be come April 1st.
Just how painful this April 1st is going to be.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got carbon tax goes up 23%. And the thing that we always forget about that is that the GST is charged on top of the carbon tax.
Yeah, it's on top of
on top. Tax on a tax. Should be illegal. Should not be allowed.
Yeah.
But this is you being allowed to happen despite many attempts on our behalf to try and get this removed. But as you said, then the escalator tax goes up 5%, the largest increase on a tax on beer, wine, and spirits in decades in Canada.
Because we need that.
So when the Liberals brought in the escalator tax, this was really unique as well, where, in my opinion, and I would say the opinion of many kind of procedural wonks, is that this is not taxation by representation. Because what this is that the Liberals put a tax on basically like the excise tax, a tax on beer, wine, and spirits that's indexed to inflation. So it goes up every single year, whether we like it or not. There's no vote, no debate, no discussion in the House of Commons. It goes up.
Incidentally, that's actually also how they give themselves raises. As it turns out, they're also going to be giving themselves a raise on April 1st, and everyone in Parliament is going to be making more money, while all Canadians are going to be spending more money and paying more taxes. And it's incidentally works the same way. They don't even have to vote on it. It just goes up. They all get a raise on April 1st. That's right. It's incredible. But like I said, the cost is all going up across the board, and it's largely because of this carbon tax. The increased cost of just operation day to day is making everything more expensive.
Our carbon taxes are up through the roof, and it raises all the building materials, natural gas, everything up to make the materials.
So that makes construction more expensive.
A lot more expensive.
Yeah. So all the stuff that goes in the buildings and the homes that we use has to be transported. It has to be shipped. It often has to be cut, milled, shaped, packaged, prepared, and brought to site. So every time you tax the fuel that goes into those steps, you tax the final building that you either work in or live in. But one of the reasons why things are so expensive to get built and done, it's the carbon tax.
Oh, yeah.
And it's incredible because as the prices of houses go up, the building houses, the prices of the houses that are still out there also climb as well. Here's a perfect example of this.
What is going on in Canada that this house costs? Let's play a game. Get a number in your head, okay? Think, what do you think this costs? All right, hold on, because you're wrong. $3 million for that? Assault.
I hope all people from other countries are watching this video. Share this around. It is just insane what is happening in Canada. $3 million for a little tiny wartime house in, I believe it's in Ontario. Crazy. This is just insane. And there's all kinds of examples of this all over the internet. But this is what's happening in Canada. And because people can't afford it, more and more people are turning to food banks. They're turning to charity. They're turning to charity. People who even work for us, military members. This is Michelle Ferreri talking to someone at a food bank.
Have to pay for the heat. Okay, hi everybody. Absolutely shocked at what I have just learned here in Oromocto Food Bank in New Brunswick. So Oromocto is also in Gagetown. So for those of you who don't know, CFB Gagetown is the largest military base in Canada. A lot of military families, a lot of people come here and train. So this food bank serves around 600 families. 450
every month.
450 families every month. Families or people?
Families.
Families, whole families.
And Jane, who oversees the food bank here, who's a rock star, just told me something that I can't even wrap my head around. And I hope any national media, all media should be covering this. How many military families from Gagetown, active people serving, are using your food bank?
About 40 to 50 families per month are using our food bank that are military members.
You catch that? 40 to 50 active military families, people who are on the payroll of the military to put their bodies in harm's way for the sake of Canada and Canadian issues, don't even make enough money to feed themselves. This is absolutely ridiculous.
That floored me.
Yeah.
And when have you seen that number happen? Like, you've been here for how many years?
I've been here for 13 years, and that number's kind of gone up and up and up over the last 4 years. Yeah. Since the pandemic, you know, it was reflective of that in the beginning, and now it just maintains. Yeah.
Everything she took me through here, the students she's helping, the kids she's feeding in schools, double. Everything's double.
Everything's double. Yeah.
Everything is double.
Yep.
And so there's this saying that 70% of Atlantic Canadians do not agree with the carbon tax. The other thing you told me about the military families is they have to pay for the heat on their homes, which is natural gas, which has carbon tax.
Yeah.
So
carbon tax. So I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can catch the whole thing. But it turns out that this is the direction that it's going. Now the Liberals are trying to run campaigns against the Conservatives to say that we're not, you know, they're telling you lies and all of this stuff, and people just aren't buying it, including the mainstream media, and they're running stories about how this is just not working out.
Pierre Poilievre pretends to care about helping you find a home.
A trio of Liberal ministers releasing social media videos this weekend, all taking aim at Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
Heavy industry has an exemption from the carbon tax.
Dwindling in the polls, Trudeau's team is on the attack, targeting Poilievre's stances on housing and the carbon tax.
Less than targeting his stances on these things, they're actually trying to usurp his stance on all of these things. They weren't talking about shortage of housing. They weren't talking about the growing prices of housing. No, not at all. Not at all until it came up from Pierre Poilievre, and this became a popular issue in Canada. Many people are concerned about these things. They never got addressed until Pierre made it a thing. And now the Liberals want to jump on this bandwagon and say that they're going to do something 8 years after they've been in office and caused a lot of these troubles, or at least exacerbated some of them. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. If you're looking for more sources on where to find stuff about, especially these tax situations, please go over to the taxpayer.com. This is the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. I get a lot of my info from these guys. This is not an ad. This is just me saying this is a great source. Go over there, check it out. I just wanted to throw that in there as well at the end. But hey, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.